What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here for the Sunday morning weekend review. Little news, little charts and graphs, the usual. Like, comment, and subscribe. All the wonderful YouTube nonsense down below. Gonna lead off. I talked about this in yesterday's video. The Luber stuff from the Sports Card Nonsense podcast. I encourage you to check out yesterday's video. I encourage you to check out the actual podcast itself. I would listen to that for sure. If you haven't, it's an hour long. Find some time. It's worth the full listen to. And having thought about it a little bit more, kind of let it marinate a little bit, if you will. I don't know what the short term looks like, as in short term is in like the next, 1 to 3 years until we see more what Fanatics does. But I do have more faith in regards to the long-term look and the future after listening to that and kind of thinking about it for a while. So that's kind of like my very macro level takeaway. So other newsy stuff, the PSA stuff, we'll wait to see what they do in regards to pricing. There was that rumor at the earlier part of this past week that I did the video on. And then I saw Gem Rate's post today right before I started recording this video. It looks like they're going to have a record-setting week this week in regards to cards graded. He tracks by the day, and they're doing pretty much over 40K cards a day almost every day this past week. And I think he said it looks like it's going to be their highest week ever. I'm sure this week will slow down a little bit with the holiday and everything. But I'll be curious to see what November numbers look like once we get to the end of the month. I don't like doing the weekly thing. I prefer to just wait and kind of look at it at a 1 month period. Maybe if they absolutely blow the doors off, I'll do something for last week's numbers. We'll see. But PSA continues to crank, and I firmly believe that we see regular service the beginning of December, like Nat said on his IG. So I think that's kind of the major things I wanted to talk about. A lot of big shows this weekend. Chicago show is this weekend, which is a very, very large show. Wasn't able to make it out to that. I'm still debating the Philly show. I don't know. Honestly, since I bought the Hulk 181, I guess that was the other big thing this week. I bought a Hulk 181. Since I bought the Hulk 181, funds are a little low on the old fun money pile. So I could go to the Philly show, but I'd mostly be looking to trade and sell some stuff. And I just don't know if it's worth a trip just for that. So I'm still on the fence on the Philly show, which is 2 weeks away. So I kind of need to figure out what I want to do there, but it is what it is. All right. Link to Market Movers is in the description down below. Coupon code, all that jazz. And today's video is sponsored by our friends over at myslabs.com. Once again, there's deals to be had over there, both on the buying and selling side. With the 1% seller fee. So price your stuff accordingly and things will move. And if you're looking to buy, go there first to check to see what you're looking for, because if people are pricing correctly, you should be able to get it a little bit cheaper than what you'll be paying for on eBay. So quick word from our sponsor, and then we will dive into today's video.
Tired of paying 10%, 15%, or more to sell your cards, comics, and digital collectibles? How does 1% sound? Too good to be true? Well, not anymore. MySlabs.com is the web's premier user-driven marketplace for buying and selling slabbed cards, sealed wax, and now slabbed comics and digital collectibles. So the next time you're forced to pay 10% or more to sell something from your collection, head over to MySlabs.com and join the 1% revolution.
Once again, thanks to our friends over at MySlabs.com for sponsoring today's video. Let's go ahead and dive in to our charts and graphs. First up, we're going to talk a couple football cards, a couple baseball cards, and then a decent amount of basketball stuff. First up, football. Patrick Mahomes. Yes. The dip must be over. He played good last week. His card prices have gone back to where they were. All is well. All is well. Well, maybe not. Let's talk about this for a second. So I pulled his Optic Hollow and his Prism Silver, both PSA 10s and both PSA 9s. For the purpose of this, let's hide the 9s for a second. This is going back the last 30 days, so you can see it had been in a steady decline. It kind of bottomed out here prior to last week's games. You see Prism Silver got all the way down to 6.2K. Optic Hollow got down to 2750. He obviously played very well last week, and things spiked back up again. PSA 10 got up to 4K. There has not been a sale in a few days, though. Last sale was on the 16th. Today is the 20th. So it's been a hot minute on that one. That's pretty low pop at 600. The Prism Silver at pop 880. Got up to 7.2, but then the sale after that was at 6.75. So, and that was on the 16th, once again, 4 days ago. This was on the 17th, the next day. So how long is this pop gonna hold? If he plays well again this week, I think it will ease a lot of people's concerns. I'm wondering if a lot of people are looking to get off of his stuff on this little bounce back and take their slight profits or whatever and get out. Let's go back. Let's hop down and look at the nines really quick. So the nines, you see this trend continuing even harder where, they dipped down last week. Prior to last week's game was the low point for sure. There was a PSA 9 silver that sold for $1,200, $1,375, $1,400, $1,400. Okay. He played balled out on Sunday, went back up to $1,677. That was on the 15th. That was last Sunday night. Cool. He's back. We're good. Back up to almost 1,700. And there was a few sales that day. Market Movers takes the average for the day. So it's not just one sales point if a few sold on that day. And then, well, what do we see here? Okay, the next day, back down to 1,572. The next day, back down to 1,475. What? So, yeah, in the moment, it spiked back up, but then it immediately started going back down again. Now, do I expect it to drop down to 1,300 prior to tomorrow? No. I mean, today's already Saturday when I'm recording this video, obviously. But if they look like not last week's Chiefs and how the rest of the season has looked Chiefs, this is probably going to continue to keep going down. If they play mediocre to average, it probably stays flat. Now, they have a big game. It's against the Cowboys, I believe, national television, I also believe. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on that. If he comes out and plays like he did last week and the Chiefs look like they did last week, this will probably spike back up again and then probably pull back again, probably a little slightly higher than before. It seems like everyone's just kind of holding their breath, seeing what happens with them on a week-to-week basis now. If they continue to play well, I do believe it slowly begins to keep trending back up again. But to think that you're completely out of the water if you have a pile of Mahomes stuff, not so fast, my friend. Same thing with the Optic Hollow 9. You could see prior to last week's game, it was going for around 1,100. That's pretty much a low point. Popped back up after the game to 1,220, or basically 1,225. Next one went for 1,190, and then one just sold on the 19th for 1K. Actually lower than what it was selling for prior to last week's game. And this is the Optic Hollow PSA 9. There's only pop 400 on this. So, once again, if I'm sitting on a pile of Mahomes stuff, I'm not exactly feeling super comfortable yet. We'll see what happens. One real quick one. Jalen Hurts has been playing really well the last 2 weeks, and his stuff has seen a bump from it. This is a silver PSA 10 Prism. This is up 25%, $80 increase, 330 to 410. And once again, this is on a 14-day callback. If you go back further, it's actually down quite a bit still. You can see, go back to 30 days, end of October, this was a $700 card, crashed all the way down to 330 and is now back up to 400. So this card's been on a little bit of a wild ride. Going back to the 90-day, this was over $1,000, $1,000 back in September at the beginning of the season. Got up to 1,275 because he had a really good week one, if I remember correctly. And then from week one, it dropped $900 from 1,275 to 330, but he's played good the last couple weeks, so it has spiked back up a little bit. Let's transition over to baseball really quick. And I talked about wanting to do a baseball video last week, and it just got away from me. Last week got away from me. I had the computer crash thing, had to send that out. I'm on my backup system, caused a little bit of chaos, had some mail days, had the Luber stuff. There was just a bunch of shenanigans last week, so I didn't get to baseball. I did do the wax video, though. But we had the baseball MVPs announced this week, and I was curious, not surprised, but curious, if prices moved based off the MVP awards. The NL one was a little up for debate. most people were leaning that it was probably going to be Harper. There was some Soto love out there. There was some Tatis love out there, and a few others, but Harper was the semi favorite, I'll say. It's a clear favorite. But Soto definitely had a dark horse candidate run there. And I was curious how it affected their prices at all. I went back 60 days. So this is catching a little bit of the tail end of the season. And this is Harper's Bowman Chrome. His base PSA 10, base BGS 9.5, and Prospect Auto PSA 10. That's the green line here. So, this is like what I would be consider, Bowman Chrome is getting a lot of love lately as pretty much being the go-to for these guys' cards beyond the Topps Chrome refractors and all that stuff. This back in late September was 1900. It spiked up to 2700, dipped down as we moved into October to back down to 1900, and went up slightly to 2300 and 2300. But you could see no real bump up for the MVP award other than from here to here, which wasn't close to the announcement at all. And same thing when you look at his regular Bowman Chrome. It's actually gone down since the end of the season. This was on 9/30. It was a $150 card. And right now it's a $120 card with little to no movement from the MVP announcement. Ohtani was a little more expected. Everyone basically knew this was a foregone conclusion because of the season that he put up. This is looking at all his Topps Chrome refractors because he doesn't really have a first Bowman. And once again, going back 60 days, so we are catching a little bit of the tail end of the season here. And I went with all the usual suspects. We have his regular refractor, his X-fractor, his pink refractor, and this prism refractor. And once again, going back 60 days, they're all slightly down. 15%, 8%, 17%, 4%. So, slightly down to basically maintaining. If you go back 30 days on this to get us kind of out of the end of the season and more into the pure off-season mode, we see it down a little heavier. And then it looked like no prisms have sold in the last 30 days to record more than one sale to give us data. But regular refractor, X-fractor, pink refractor, down 17%, 11%, and 10%. So most of those losses are coming in the last 30 days as we move deeper and deeper into the MLB offseason. And once again, I would still like to do an MLB offseason video. It looks like, it's not surprising. There's going to be an announcement of a strike/lockout next week or a week and a half from now. I believe the deal is up December 1st or 2nd. That part's not surprising. The question is do they lose games and how ugly does it get before they get to that point? I personally don't think they lose games. I also think it's probably going to get a little ugly. And does that ugliness further push down baseball card prices? I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch as we move throughout December and heading towards Christmas. Last year, and once again, last year is, I would love to use last year's data and take some, hard and fast thoughts from it, but it gets tricky because last year the baseball market spiked basically at Christmas. Christmas to New Year's is when stuff started going back up. There's two things that are a lot different this year. One, the card market is just in a much different place. We are not in the crazy. Remember last year in January and February is when the market went absolutely insane and prices went to the moon. So how much of that was driven by that, like a rising tide lifts all boats, and how much of it was because it was the run up to baseball season? Baseball prices started going up in early or late December, early January. They peaked in March. Tatis's prices peaked in March. I think Acuna's got a little higher than March, but a lot of those guys peaked in March. And once again, how much of that was the general sports card market being at its all-time high? So we have that as kind of an unknown this year, and then we also have the labor stuff as an unknown this year. We don't know how that's going to affect the market. So I am still watching a ton of baseball. If I was putting money into the market right now, it would be probably into baseball. But I am being very cautious, and I'm basically strictly waiting for auctions and kind of seeing what they ending at. And I still have my, list of players that I am looking to get into, your Tatis's, Vlad, Soto's, etc. For the most part, this is anecdotally speaking. I have not sat here and dug into the data hardcore on this. To me, the guys that I'm tracking, the prices are basically staying relatively flat. Soto Pinks have been between 1K and 1.2K the entire off season to this point. Tatis stuff has come down a little bit. Vlad refractors have been around 3 to 350. Otani refractors have slightly come down, but not a ton, as you can see on the screen here. So we'll see where baseball goes as we move throughout Christmas and how this labor stuff sounds. Let's hop over to basketball. Probably one of the messier of the markets, but I did want to pull out a couple guys from the 2020 class that are actually having a little bit of an upswing. That's Tyrese Maxey for the first one. He's been playing great. With Simmons gone, or not gone, well, whatever. Simmons not playing, just leave it at that. Maxey has really kind of come on this season, and his Prism Silver, this is raw, because there's just really not a lot of PSA 10s of this. And we don't look at raw cards on here very often. But this is his Silver Prism PSA 10. I went back 30 days on this, which gets us to essentially the start of the season, a little bit after the start of the season, but not by much. You can see this bounced around a little bit, but he's really took off the month of November, and so have his prices. Since the last 30 days, he's up 91% on his Prism Silver, $50 to $95. And like I said, not much activity of these in a PSA 10. I have a feeling stuff like this, these are the cards that you could be chasing to potentially submit to PSA at that $100 level. Stuff like these Tyrese Maxey Silvers, could potentially make sense. Right now, I think in a PSA 10, this is a pop 2, I think. Obviously, that's going to change pretty quickly. What else do we have here? Cole Anthony, another one. He's been playing out of his mind all season. I've been using him a ton in NBA DFS. And once again, going back 30 days on this is his Prism Silver Raw. It's up 531%. This was a $13 card 30 days ago, and it's now an $82 card in season. So there's still, as much as, we talk about, flipping's dead, this, that, and the other thing's dead. It's so much harder to make money now. The old tried and true, go prospect on some guys that you think are real cheap that have some potential to explode, especially these second and third year guys that have maybe a little bit under the radar. Still have an absolute ton of room to go up. And this is another one, if you got in on the Cole Anthony train and you have some of these sitting at PSA, or maybe you bought a show recently or something like that, these are the sorts of cards you could track down locally at shows that are not going to be picked over, that if you could find clean copies, make great PSA candidates, in my opinion, because there's not a ton on the market. Now that will change. Once again, Cole Anthony, I expect his pop report to go up quickly as we move deeper into the season, especially if he continues to play well. And this is a case where, Cole Anthony, this is, you want to risk it for the biscuit. How many people do you think are sitting on Cole Anthony Silvers and Tyrese Maxey Silvers waiting for the $100 announcement? You might be better off to just suck it up and pay the $150 express and kind of cut the line, because it's more likely, or not more likely, you'll get it back way faster than them, because you're not waiting another week or so for them to announce pricing, and you're not waiting to get in line with everybody else. If it's, say, a 2-month turnaround time, if you submit this express now, you'll have it back in probably 2 weeks. They're cranking that fast on express. You ship this out on Monday morning, good chance you have it back the week after Thanksgiving, or maybe the end of that week. Meanwhile, other people haven't even got their cards in the mail yet, and that very well could be worth the extra $50 to cut that line and get it back faster, why he continues to be hot, and before too many hit the pop report. Let me just pull up. I doubt many of his PSA 10s have sold, if at all. I could be wrong. His PSA 10's a pop too. Maxey's might be higher. The last one sold, so this was on 11/5, sold for $600. Now, it's a pop too. But as a raw card, it was a $50 raw card. So if you could get this for, let's say, $70, $80, $150 to submit. Let me see if there's any PSA 9s on here. Sorry, this is not where I expected to take this today, but no PSA 9s have sold. At $80 for a raw, if you get a clean raw copy, you could find one at a show or whatever. 150 to 150 bucks to grade it, comes back a 10. I mean, you're golden. The last sale 610, maybe it doesn't go to 610, but still, let's say 500. You're still good, and I don't think you'd be losing a ton of money on a PSA 9, to be honest. Maybe you could break even on a PSA 9. But on a PSA 10, I mean, this seems like a no-brainer if you could find these laying around, even at 150. And like I said, at 150, it gives you the ability to cut the line a little bit. Let's see if Maxi has any. I thought he was pop 2, too. No, he's pop 5. One has sold for, I'm sorry, that's a PSA 9. No PSA 10s have sold. PSA 9 went for 192. So perfect example, 85 bucks for a raw when a PSA 9 did 192. So at $100, you're breaking dead even. 150, you're slightly losing, but you're making a killing probably on a 10. So for those kind of, asking what cards make sense at $100 PSA level, that's a perfect candidate right there. All right, a few more players to get through here. Shocking to no one. We were running a little long. Steph Curry, playing out of his freaking mind. I went back. What did I go back on this? 30 days on this as well, because once again, that takes us to just past the start of the regular season. I was curious how his prices were doing and actually shocked at what I found. His Topps base down 2%. Now, this is a 10K card. Pop 362. Not the best looking of cards, is what it is. But slightly down. His upper deck, now this is in Davidson uniform. This one does not get a ton of love. Down 14%. His prestige, actually probably a fairly underrated one just based off the photo, because he's at least in his Warriors jersey. Staying flat at 0%. And then the Panini Studio, kind of an underrated one as well. Down 5% to 1525. Nice looking card there. And a PSA 10, but is also slightly down over the last 30 days. So as well as an insane as Steph Curry is playing, he is probably the favorite for the MVP right now. The Warriors look like they are the favorite to win the West, in my opinion, or at least make the Western Conference Finals. And he has his massive resume, and his stuff is still basically just holding steady. And that's going to be a trend that we see throughout the NBA market. Most players still continue to backslide to some degrees or another. I mean, we talked about these guys because, once again, they were just extremely undervalued, outperforming expectations in Maxey and Cole Anthony. Let's look at DeMar DeRozan. Actually, same class, 2009 Topps. He's slightly going up, but his stuff was dirt cheap to begin with. This is his PSA 10 Topps, just his base paper. 253 as of the beginning of November, is currently up to 425. The Bulls are playing great. DeRozan looks absolutely amazing. Not someone that we've talked a ton about on the channel. Only pop 32 on this, which is absolutely nutty as well. And once again, what an absolutely terrible card design in 2009 by Topps. Yikes. But DeRozan up 70% just in the last, I think I went 30 days on this one as well. There was just no sales prior to this one, with the pop being so low. They just don't move very often. Moving along, Zach LaVine, his running mate. Once again, Bulls playing out of their mind. This is his PSA 10 base prism. I wanted to look at the silver too, just not enough have sold. The silver is only pop 46. Hell, the base is only pop 400. There's just not a lot of these, because one, probably a ton weren't sent in for grading. And also just the pop counts are a lot lower. The print run was a lot smaller back on 14 Prism. So PSA 10, and I went back. What did I go back on this one? Also 30 days. So since the start of the season, down slightly at 7%, and that's with it getting a little boost on the last couple days. You can see prior to that, it was actually trending down 320, 260, and then it popped back up to 355. So we'll have to see how this holds. But he's also playing good. He's not playing as good as DeRozan. I think DeRozan's kind of sucked some of his superpowers away, but the team itself is playing outstanding. I was completely wrong on the Bulls. I thought they'd be like a 5 to 6 seed, and they are looking like a 1 to 3 seed. So we'll see if they can keep it up, but as of right now, they are playing absolutely out of their minds. And LaVine has played very, very well. Not putting up outstanding numbers, but they have a lot of mouths to feed there. And another one, I did not pull charts for him. Lonzo Ball is playing ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. Jeff Wilson just must be having a good old time holding on to all his Lonzo stuff down there in the ATL. LeBron, Topps Chrome. The coveted Topps Chrome. PSA 10, PSA 9, PSA 8. Once again, going back 30 days, is on the downward slide. Topps Chrome PSA 10 down to 13.1K, 14% dip. PSA 9 down 20% to 3.5, and a PSA 8 down to just under 2K at 1990. I could say one of these PSA 10s sold for 1200 on 11/16, and I believe another one went for 1200 on the PWCC auctions last night. So getting a little interesting on the LeBron market. Now, he came back last night, so we will see if he starts playing and playing well. Does his stuff get a boost? But as of right now, the Lakers look like a disaster. Shocking no one, the Russell Westbrook trade does not look that great. We'll see what ends up happening with them now that he's back once he gets integrated. They also got Taylor Horton Tucker back. I should have pulled charts on him. He did not play well last night because LeBron was back, but when the couple games that he was back before LeBron was back, because he's been hurt all year, Taylor Horton Tucker played good. He put up some monster lines in the 2 games before LeBron came back. And then last night, I think his role got minimized with LeBron coming back. So THT, not sure what his prices did, but he had a really good 2 games. I still really like him as an NBA player. That being said, it was the smartest decision ever to sell all his stuff last year when his prices went nuts. But he's definitely an interesting one. He's kind of in the he might be like the new KPJ in regards to hobby love stuff. So, and finishing up last but not least, just kind of our weekly check-in on Zion and Ja PSA 10 Silver Prisms. Still continuing to kind of hang basically even with each other. I went back 2 weeks on this one. Over the last 2 weeks, Zion Silver is down 6%. Ja Silver is up 3%. And a few people in the comments of some other videos have mentioned that the Ja's Optic Hollow has actually passed up Zion's Optic Hollow. I didn't check that. That's not super surprising because most people don't like the Zion Optic photo. It looks terrible. It's him hugging the ball and caressing it like it's a donut. Ja's is very similar to his Prism photo, just a little closer cropped in. Ja continues to play extremely well. His stuff did pull back slightly because even when these guys play well, their prices can only maintain for so long. But overall, he is still up over the last 2. But you could see his stuff got all the way up to 1700. I believe it was even higher than this at one point. Slightly pulled back, went up again, slightly pulling back again. Zion has not sold since the 15th. So we'll have to see what the next one goes for. But as of right now, it's holding at pretty much just under 2,300. I still don't think we see him before Christmas, to be quite honest. I saw he was cleared for the next phase of his return, but they are going to baby the hell out of him, especially with them being like 2-11 or whatever they are. So we'll see where that goes as we lead throughout the holidays. So videos for this week, I am not sure of the plan yet. I do want to revisit a wax video. Some people, and this kind of put the idea in my head, that were asking about retail wax, which I did not look at in the last video. But I kind of want to go and maybe do something comparing how hobby boxes perform versus retail wax, like blasters, megas versus the hobby box equivalent. Do they go up and down congruently, or does one outperform another? So I might dig into that this week. I would still like to look at baseball stuff. And then beyond that, I am not sure. And then with it being Thanksgiving this week, there'll probably be no video on Thursday. Not sure about Friday yet. Wednesday night, unless plans change, Sports Cards Anonymous Dakota is having a Thanksgiving live stream on Wednesday evening. As of right now, myself, Dakota, Sports Cards Anonymous, Flipping Steve, and then he said perhaps other special guests, all guests tentative, will be live over on his channel, probably just hanging out for most of the evening. He has a kid now. Me and Steve are old, so we're not all about going out to the bars on the night before Thanksgiving till all hours of the evening. So if you're around at home and want to avoid your family, come hang out with us on the good old live stream. But that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Like, comment, subscribe, check out Market Movers, all that jazz. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.